Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to today's vlog, which has kind of turned into a recap of the last few weeks. We have had a crazy entrance into spring with some wild weather. And so I took advantage of not only the weather, but the fact that I have been feeling so good lately to experiment with more sourdough recipes. So today I'm making bagels and scones and bread and showing you my lunch that I made with my bagel. I also got a few new flavors of bone broth I'm excited to share with you guys today. And I recently got a wet jet to clean our floors. And so I'm very excited about that. So I'll be sharing that as well. So before we hop right in, I want to give a special shout out to all of you that have gone over and subscribed to my Patreon. It means so much to me that you guys have chosen to support my work. And to those of you that haven't gone over, I actually upload exclusive content there. And so if you sign up for my Patreon, you get access to not only the upcoming content, but all of the previous content that I have been uploading there for a few years now. So thank you, patrons. Seriously, thank you from the bottom of my heart. So with all of that being said, let's hop in. So this day was crazy because we woke up and it had just dumped snow everywhere. Like no one knew this much snow was coming to town. And so I got an excessive amount of snowy shots, but that's just because it was shocking. Like we didn't even get this much snow really during the winter. Now the crazy part is you'll see that by the afternoon it actually completely melted away, but it was so beautiful and it made for such a fun and lovely first part of the day. So Dan has been really into making waffles lately. So on this morning, he decided to make a big batch. He likes to keep some in the freezer as well. So he makes some to eat fresh and then puts some in the freezer. Actually, that is the one item in this video basically that isn't sourdough. So these waffles are just regular waffles that he likes to make. So he made up a big batch and I decided to make some scrambled eggs. So what was fun about this snow day is that it's probably our last snow day of the season, but we thought that we had already passed that like quite a bit earlier. And so we had all these things that we talked about doing in the snow when it comes back again next year. And then we got this random snow dump. So Dan and Logan got to have like a really fun morning outside. And I had a fun time watching them. Also, just have grace with me. I'm from Southern California. I didn't know that this was a real thing. Did you guys know this was a real thing? That like snow really rolls like this and like will get bigger as you roll it? So how crazy is this? This was literally like post-lunch. Everything just started melting and it melted fast. So we were going to be celebrating my mom's birthday on the next day, and I was basically in charge of all the carbs. So I started off by making these sourdough chocolate chip scones, which was an experiment. It was my first time making them. Like I mentioned in the beginning, I'm pretty much diving into like testing out all things sourdough. I will tell you, spoiler alert, these are amazing. Like they turned out amazing. I definitely overbaked them a little bit, but they were still so delicious and we ate every last bite. and it was just incredible. I did not get any footage of myself making the clotted cream, but you should definitely make clotted cream to go with your scones because, in my opinion, that's a big part of it. Fun hack here, if you're confused as to what is going on, when you're making like pie crusts or scones, because it's a similar concept, start off by freezing your butter stick ahead of time so it's extra cold, and then you can grate the butter on a cheese grater, and it helps to combine the butter and the flour a little faster and easier before the butter starts to melt, because you want the butter as cold as possible. So once I cut these all up, I put them on my baking tray and then covered them up to put them in the fridge overnight. And Dan, before we went to sleep, actually mixed up our bread dough for the easy sandwich loaf that I am going to be showing you guys very soon. I'm just having a harder time editing that video than I thought I would because I really want to be thorough. So this is the next morning, by the way. And once they had fermented in the fridge overnight, I pulled them out, and then as you can see, I'm brushing on some heavy cream. Now, this is actually the reason why I overcooked the scones, because what happens is the heavy cream creates like a glaze, shiny exterior kind of, and it kept fooling me into thinking they weren't done cooking, but they were in fact done cooking. How incredible does this all look? It's really incredible. So I'm always the carb queen, but I told you guys I was specifically put on task to make carbs for my mom's birthday, and she really wanted smashed, crispy garlic potatoes. And so that's what I did on this day. You start off by boiling potatoes, and then you literally just smash them with something heavy. I used the back of my mason jar, and then I put olive oil on top. I brushed that on top. And then also, before I put them in the oven, I decided to brush a little bit of melted butter on top as well. And then you just put all your desired, seasonings on top. So I put garlic, a little onion powder, lots of salt, a little bit of pepper. And last time I did it, I think I also put some like Parmesan cheese on top as well, but I didn't do it this time. You have lots of options. You don't see it in this video, but I also made a side of chimichurri sauce that we ate on the potatoes as well. And that stuff is delicious. All right, on to more carbs. This was my first time making bagels. So bagels is something that I went into really wanting to master, because if you know me and you've been following my channel for a long time, you know that like bagels and I guess you'd say tacos are like my favorite food. I love bagels, and I really don't think many people make good bagels. Like, there's not a lot of bagel places I tend to love. And when I was pregnant, I always craved bagels and I didn't know where to get them. So I thought, all right, if the Lord gives me another baby, I want to be able to have like my own on hand, which, by the way, spoiler alert, well, not a spoiler alert, because pretty much all bagels freeze really well, but these freeze really well. But now I'll give the spoiler alert. These bagels turned out to be so amazing. I literally said to Dan, there's no way these are going to turn out like what I'm hoping for them to be, because if it was that easy to make good bagels, I'd be able to find them everywhere. But nope, turns out it really is that easy to make good bagels. I don't know why it's hard to find and buy good bagels. I feel like most grocery store bagels taste like cakey or fluffy, and I want them to be chewy. And so being able to have like fermented sourdough chewy bagels on hand is so amazing. Now, this, like I mentioned, was my first time ever making them, and it was my second time. Now I'm questioning myself, but it was really scary. I mean, it's gotten less scary every time I've made them because I'm understanding now more what to expect, but the dough was just like so wet. I had to fold it a bunch to get the gluten in the wheat to really like come together more. I will say the longer it sat on the counter, the easier it got to work with. So I don't know if that's because it was drying out more, but all I have to say is if you've been scared to make bagels, this is like my typical mantra, right? Just try it. I mean, I couldn't believe that I had said to Dan, there's no way this is going to be like as good of a bagel as what I'm hoping for, but I'm just going to try it. And that resulted in actually being like the best bagel I've ever had. Like, seriously, we're pretty much all convinced these are the best bagels we've ever had. And I'm a newbie at-home baker. And so I think that just in general, we all think it's like going to be super scary and super hard. And I mean, it is kind of scary and it's a little bit hard, but push past it and try it out, especially if you are a bagel fan. I will try to remember to link all of the recipes that I tried, by the way. And if I don't or I forget, be sure to check out my Pinterest because I pin a lot of recipes over there. And I think all of these sourdough recipes basically came from Pinterest. So for lunch on this day, I knew I wanted to utilize some of the bagels that we had made because we were all just like, yes, let's definitely have that be part of lunch. So I decided to make tuna melts. So I opened up a can of tuna and I used some leftover garlic aioli that I had made from scratch a couple of days earlier. Basically, that's just homemade mayonnaise using avocado oil. And then I turn it into an aioli with lots of garlic, lemon juice, and tons of pepper. And so I just kind of threw this together. I make my tuna salad differently almost every time. But there are some things that I do every time, and that is pretty much always adding some kind of onion and tons of lemon juice. I like to add something brighter and crunchier. So this time I added little bits of apple, but sometimes I do celery. I also like to add herbs of some sort. So I did cilantro, which you guys know is my favorite herb. Oh, I did end up adding a little bit of celery to the mix as well. Then I grated up some of my Tillamook cheddar cheese that I buy from Costco. If you missed my last Costco haul, by the way, this is when I bought it. Then after I put the tuna on and the cheese, I let it melt in the oven on the low broiler and put the top on, and it was an amazing sandwich. So Fond Broth recently sent me over a case of some bone broth after I had miscarried. And not only just meant a lot to me, so thank you, Fond, but also I just wanted to show you all of these bone broth flavors because they're all amazing. And if you've been hesitant to try bone broth, or you've tried it in the past and you felt like it was bland and just not very tasty, you have to try Fond. It is out of this world and not bland, super tasty, and very high quality. I actually have a discount code that they provided me with as well. So if you want to try Fond out, I will link them down below, and I can't recommend them enough. So speaking of other YouTubers' recommendations, I recently bought this Nellie's Wow Mop at the recommendation of Sarah Therese. I actually messaged her on Instagram and was like, do you still love your Wow Mop? And she sent me back this whole thing being like, I'm still obsessed with it. So I dove in, and I wanted you to see how easy it is to set up. I am not great at setting things up, and I did it on my own. Even when Dan came home, he's like, oh, you did it all by yourself? And I was like, yep, I did. So I'll be sharing in the future how I like it and as I use it, but I have used it once since I've put it together, and it was really cool and way more heavy duty working than I expected it to be based on how it looks. So another sourdough thing that I wanted to make were sourdough tortillas. So this recipe used a lot of my discard, as you can see, and that's kind of one of my goals as I'm learning different sourdough recipes, is figuring out different ways to use my discard, because I don't really actually ever want to have quote unquote discard. I don't want to get rid of perfectly good flour. So I'm trying to, try different things and see what I like, see what works, yada yada. So on this day, I tried flour tortillas. Now, spoiler alert, these were delicious, but definitely came out thicker than I had hoped, kind of like a naan bread. But you'll see as we go, our technique even in cooking them changed as we went. And by the end of making a ton of tortillas, I feel like we had gotten it down better, and our next batch would be better in general. But yeah, so cool and tasty, and just very interesting to see how many different things you can use your discard in and just add in that fermented grain element to, the different grain items that you're eating. It's cool. And I'm excited to hopefully try different types of wheat in the future as well. So I really wanted to make black bean taquitos on this day, but I didn't have any. I only had refried beans. So all of this, like, I'm not that pleased with the texture. I wish I had had maybe some things, I don't know, something chunkier maybe in it. But I did end up flavoring the pinto beans with a little bit of cumin and salt, pepper, cayenne pepper, garlic. I added some cilantro and lots of lime juice. Oh, and I did put a little bone broth in here actually on this day as well, and just stirred that up, let it simmer. And then I took all of my finished tortillas, constructed my taquitos, and brushed them with oil to bake in the oven. I also put cheese in the taquitos in case you missed that. So that is it for this video, guys. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope it was able to encourage you or give you some kind of inspiration. If you haven't checked out my Patreon yet, like I said, I will link that down below. I appreciate all of my patrons so much. I've uploaded 3 videos over there in the last week and a half. So I will, God willing, see you guys back here soon and all over the rest of the internet. And that's it. All right. Bye, guys.